This rally is being called by the People's Assembly in conjunction with the BMA, and one political party that right from the start has consistently supported the People's Assembly and spoken at platforms and had people on its steering committee is the Green Party, and I'm very pleased to introduce its leader, Natalie Bennett.
And it's great to see the brilliant turnout this evening. And I want to start with a very simple message. I want to bring to you the solidarity, the support from the Green Party for the junior doctors. And I really think we've got to group this together. I want to bring the Green Party's support and solidarity for our student nurses. And my third point, and these are all very much interrelated, I want to bring the Green Party's, show the Green Party's support for a publicly owned, publicly run NHS with services free at the point of use. That's what we all want. And I urge you very much to look at something called, perhaps slightly unexcitingly, the NHS Reinstatement Bill. It's not the sexiest term, but it's tremendously important. That says two principles. One, that the profit motive has no place in our NHS. And secondly, that we want to get rid of the market mechanism. Now, I was on the People's March for the NHS a year or so back, a wonderful organisation called 999 Call for the NHS. And on that march, I did the Bedford to Luton leg. You know, as Green Party leader, I get to see all the really scenic parts of the country. Walking on that leg, talking to someone who worked at a hospital, and that hospital, a publicly owned hospital, had a contract with the local clinical commissioning group, and they actually had to ensure that their bills were right, or they got massive fines. So they'd employed a whole staff member simply to check the bills between one publicly owned entity and another publicly owned entity were right. That's the market mechanism, and we have to get that market mechanism out of our NHS. Now, I think it's also worth focusing on the fact, despite what the government's claiming, and as other people have said this evening, sadly the media really hasn't challenged this, the fact is funding for the NHS is falling away massively in real terms. Under the government plans, currently NHS spending is 7.3% of GDP. By 2020, it's scheduled to go down to 6.6%. Now, even if you add in about 1.2% of GDP that's spent on private healthcare, of course that's not available to the vast majority of us, that still means that we're heading towards 7.8% of GDP spending by 2020 on health overall. Contrast that to France and Germany, where it's about 11% of GDP. We're nearly 4% less. The NHS is grossly underfunded. This government is starving the NHS of funds, and we need to tell everybody about that. Now, I think, as others have said this evening, what's happening, all of these things together, is no accident. We have a health secretary who's the co-author of the book who said we should replace our publicly owned, publicly run, free at the point of use NHS with a US-style healthcare system.
No!
Page 78. Thank you. Now, morally, politically, that's absolutely wrong, but it's also demonstrably, evidence-based, heading in entirely the wrong direction. The US uses about twice this percentage of GDP on healthcare that we do, for far worse outcomes. It's an incredibly inefficient, disastrous, inequitable system, and we will not have it in the UK. Now, since I'm here as the first political speaker, I think I'm going to finish finish by just reflecting for a second on the politics. All right, okay. Political party speaker. Sorry, that was incorrectly phrased. I will rephrase it. The first party speaker here. Let's really make it very clear. This government does not have a mandate for anything that it's doing. They only got the support of 24% of eligible voters. You have the mandate to fight them, all the people who didn't vote for them. What we've got to say, and I think others have hinted at this evening, but I think we really need to make this really clear. I've got a phrase, 2020 is too far away. Yeah. We cannot allow this government to continue to do this kind of damage for the next 4 years. We need to get the Tories out now. Corrected from down the front there, I'm not the first political speaker, I'm just the first party speaker. But politics is something that we're seeing increasing engagement in, increasing levels of involvement in. I was on the picket line outside Barnet Hospital, and Barnet isn't perhaps the most politically radically part of the country, I'd say. There was huge support coming from patients, coming from visitors to the hospital. And if you look at actually, there was a great article on a website called The Conversation, University of Birmingham research a few weeks ago, and it was showing a graph from the level of political activism reported in the media from 2010 to 2015, and it's grown enormously. And this was even before we had the student nurses, Danielle and all of her colleagues on the streets, we had the junior doctors out on the picket lines. People are getting involved in politics, and I've got a message that isn't at all a party political message, but a message for everybody. Everyone here in this hall is already doing politics, but we need to say to the British public, you need to do politics. You need to defend your junior doctors, you need to defend your student nurses, midwives and associated health professionals. You need to get out there and support them. Do politics. Don't have politics done to you. Make sure you stand up for our